Good evening. A week ago, after we ended our show, we received devastating news of the first real close to home death in the sports world in 2023. Last week, college basketball lost an all time great, a man whose voice was synonymous not only with college basketball in general, but also mostly with the NCAA tournament on CBS Sports. Last week, we said goodbye to the great Billy Packer. Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of TXN Sports World. I am your host, Anthony Florio. I am joined, as always, by good old MF Michael Fletcher. We are maybe awaiting the presence of Michael Bullock. If he comes in, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we'll hopefully have him tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk. A week ago, we lost the man you see right there, Billy Packer, 82 years old. He passed away due to kidney failure. But this man, we best remember as the color analyst for the NCAA tournament, most notably on CBS Sports. As I share the resume here, Packer first worked at the network level with NBC from 1974 to 1981, and then CBS from 1981 to 2008. He covered every NCAA men's Division I basketball championship, including the Final Four from 1975 to 2008. For many years, he also covered ACC games for Raycom Sports. In 1986, he helped create the computer game Hoops. He won a Sports Emmy Award in 1993. In 2005, Packer received the Marvin Francis Award for notable achievement and service in coverage of the ACC, as reported by the Washington Post. On July 15, 2008, CBS announced that Packer would be replaced by Clark Kellogg on the network's lead broadcast crew. This marked the end of 35 straight years of Packer covering the NCAA tournament as a TV analyst. In March 2009, he returned to the studio with Bob Knight for Survive in Advance, an NCAA tournament preview show produced by Fox Sports Net. Packer also served as a color commentator for Putt Putt Professional Putters Association television broadcasts. He called the historic 1982 PPA National Championship, which featured 4 future Hall of Fame players among the 8 contestants. Packer's broadcast teammates included Kurt Gowdy, Jim Thacker, Dick Enberg, Al McGuire, Gary Bender, and Brent Musburger. From 1991 to 2008, he worked alongside Jim Nantz and Vern Lundquist, usually during pre-championship week while Nantz was covering the NFL and or golf. When working games for Raycom Sports, Packer's on-air partner was Tim Brandt. When Nantz was a broadcaster for the 1992 Winter Olympics for CBS, Packer's on-air partner was Mel Proctor. Packer also did play-by-play alongside Al McGuire for 2 games, a February 6, 94 game with Purdue at Iowa, and a February 27, 94 Indiana at Minnesota game while Jim Nantz was broadcasting the 1994 Winter Olympics for CBS. Memorable calls on April 4th, 1983, after Lorenzo Charles made a game-winning slam dunk as NC State upset Houston to win the national championship. Packer said they won it on the dunk. In the 1991 national semifinal game with Duke losing by 5 to undefeated UNLV with just over 2 minutes left, Packer said Duke doesn't need a three-pointer here, just as Bobby Hurley shot and made one of the biggest baskets in Duke basketball history. MF knows that very well. After the University of Arizona won the 1997 national championship, Arizona star player Miles Simon celebrated on the court. Observing the scene, Packer said, "Simon says championship." His career timeline, 1972 to 2008, CD Chesley / Metro Sports / Raycom / Jefferson Pilot Sports ACC basketball analyst. 1974 to 1981, NBC Sports lead college basketball analyst, and from 1981 to 2008, CBS Sports lead college basketball analyst. Packer was described as a broadcaster as overbearing, arrogant, condescending, dismissive, and petulant. Sports radio talk show host Mike Francesa would say Packer would broadcast games with a red marker. A red marker is often used by teachers to correct errors by students. Packer was criticized for always telling fans what went wrong instead of complimenting players in strong play. If a team scored, it was always the fault of poor defense. If a team didn't score, he would often criticize a player for failing to execute a play properly or taking an ill-advised shot. Players in games were always expected to be better. He was also noted for constantly criticizing coaching strategies. This was a stark contrast to the enthusiasm of other noted college basketball broadcasters like Dick Vitale and Bill Raftery. Francesa said that Packers' constant negativity could be off-putting to the audience watching at home. Others in the media also started to feel that Packer had become too much of a curmudgeon and constantly harped on everything wrong in college basketball and society at large. I mean, just sad that a lot of people thought that. That was the real controversy. He wasn't without controversy. I mean, I'm not gonna lie about that. But even with the controversy, he was still noted as one of the best in the business. He was the author of Hoops, Why We Win, and a number of other basketball books. He was married to Barbara, and they had 3 children. 2 of his children, Brant and Mark, work in sports media. And Brant works as a producer for the Golf Channel, and Mark is a sports radio host based in Charlotte, North Carolina. In 1988, Billy Packer was inducted into the National Polish American Sports Hall of Fame. And then a week ago, at the age of 82, he died of kidney failure. But at the end of the day, he still deserves to be remembered as one of the greats of all time. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I didn't start watching the tournament fully until around 1997, 1998. It was right around one of those years. I think it was more 97 that I started to get into the NCAA tournament. I saw bits and pieces of it for a couple of years beforehand, but I started watching the tournament right around 97 or so. And then once I started watching the tournament, I became hooked instantly. And every year since then, I've made it a mission to tune in to the NCAA tournament every single day or what have you that it's on, because that's how much I love the game. And this man and Jim Nantz, those were the 2 that really did it for me. And, you know, whether you loved him or you hated him, you couldn't help but respect him. I mean, I never had a problem with him. I always loved his style. And he had, like I said, he had some iconic calls like that 83 championship. I also remember, I think it was him as well. There was a tournament game in 1992 where there was a big walk-off buzzer-beating shot where I remember he yelled out, holy mackerel, in a game in Milwaukee. So I do remember. And, you know, him and Jim Nantz, I mean, those were the 2, like I said. I mean, those 2 always brought it. And Jim Nantz, you remember during this past Sunday's AFC Championship game, Jim Nantz, I think they were coming back from a commercial break, and he brought it up, and he and Tony Romo had some kind words, and Jim Nantz is, nobody's going to miss him more than Jim Nantz, because I know how much Jim Nantz loved working with him, and all the memories they had, and all the amazing calls they had, and he's certainly going to be missed, and I'm sure he's especially going to be missed next month when we start March Madness. And I know especially this year there's going to be a lot of thoughts about Billy Packer, and there isn't much more for me to say on this, except, as I always say, to Billy Packer, we simply say, on behalf of all of us here at TXN Sports World, we simply say, thank you for the memories. Thank you for the inspiration. And most of all, thank you for Billy Packer and the analysis that you gave us for so many years, especially during the NCAA tournament on CBS Sports with Jim Nantz. That was your personal best work, sir. So rest in peace and Godspeed, my friend. Thoughts, prayers, condolences to the family, the friends, and all of the people who were fortunate enough to work with him. So there isn't much more for me to say. MF, you're the one who broke it a little after we went off the air last week. If we had known about it right then and there, we would have definitely done this last week. But it was after the fact.
Yeah.
But here we are, Billy Packer passing away at the age of 82. A lot of the younger folks may not know who he is, but we best remember him. Simply put, for all those NCAA tournaments he did, but his personal best work, without a doubt, was him and Jim Nantz.
Yeah, you could even make an argument that him and Brent Musburger did a great job, and of course him and Dick Enberg. As a matter of fact, he was there when Magic and Bird NCAA national championship game. They were there.
1979. Yep.
Yeah.
Highest rated game to this day.
Highest rated game to this day. And then, of course, he did have his run-ins. He actually had a legendary little, you could say it was a little sparring section with Bobby Knight as part of the 1983 national championship run for Indiana. And this was right around the time that I don't remember if it was 83 or 80, the day that Ronald Reagan got shot. And, they actually did the game. Indiana won the national championship. And, he apologized to Bobby Knight for comments that he made during an interview that got kind of heated between him and Bobby Knight. But Bobby Knight was like, nah, you're a great professional. You're one of the best. He had nothing bad to say about it. And that was actually one of those rare times where, I heard the same thing, Anthony, about the negativity, about certain things and everything else. I didn't notice it because we were so wrapped up in the game and everything else. But there was never, ever a time where he was that. He was there for Michael Jordan's greatest moment in 1982 when North Carolina made that shot and then went on to win the national championship. Obviously, the legendary 83, that was the NC State. We talk about it ad nauseatum about that. Then I think the first time I got to see Billy Packer live and doing it was the 1991 Final Four when Duke won the title, and then again in '92, and then of course one other thing that we can talk about is he was there on the infamous timeout by Chris Webber in 1993, where North Carolina won the national championship. Then of course you talk about the '97 with the Simon Says. And there was other great moments. And every time you went on to watch a game, when it was Nantz and Packer, you knew something special was going to happen. Something great was going to go down. It was sad that they let him go after the 2008 season. I get it. You want to move on. Sometimes contracts run out, or it was just that they just felt like they needed to go a different direction. But his legacy is cemented, and I think a lot of people will even say that he has a Hall of Fame career. So, I do believe that he will be missed, especially once we get into tournament time. He was a very vocal point, especially with the ACC tournament. That was something that he never did on Rycon Sports. He never did it for ESPN, but when he did it for Rycon Sports, that was the voice. Him and Tim Brando, as you talked about, Anthony, were the two guys that was doing the NCAA tournament, was doing the ACC tournament. And I remember there was a few years when the CW28 was actually showing ACC basketball, and that was the tournament. Sometimes we couldn't get the ESPN, so we were forced to watch the ACC tournament. And with these two guys, it was a master class in commentary with Tim Brando and with Billy Packer working together. They did a number of North Carolina and Duke winning the ACC tournaments. Obviously, those were equally special for me. So, I mean, yes, a legend and an icon that we lost, and somebody that we'll truly miss, especially, like I said, championship week coming up very, very soon. We're about a month away from we're about a month away from the at least from the championship week. That's the ACC tournament, Big East tournament. You know, we always get excited for that. And then, of course, the week after, the NCAA tournament. Anthony, you started it back in 1997. I started following the tournament. I saw the first Final Four I ever saw was 1991, but 1992 was truly the year that I started getting into the NCAA tournament. So 91 was only Final Four. 92 was really when I got very involved in the tournament. Back then, and then obviously 97 when you and I got to meet each other. That's when we started really getting into it. You know, getting the brackets from the newspapers, and from there on. And then, as you know, nowadays we do the brackets literally from our cell phones, or everything else. So I mean, it's just one of those kind of moments that we get so excited about. But
MF, you mentioned about the newspaper cutouts. Believe it or not, I still have those suckers. Believe it or not,
yeah, I probably have some of them lying around. I know I got the printouts of my brackets when I got it from the computers. But as far as the cutouts for the newspapers, they're probably lying around somewhere in my house. I know I got a few of them, at least 2 or 3 of them. So yeah, no doubts. So yeah, will be missed, legendary, and Godspeed and God bless. We'll miss you, man. Anthony, back to you, my friend.
Yeah, it's hard to move on, but we got it in this case. Show must go on, as the old saying goes. And yeah, real quick, 95 and 96. So it was really more of the championship games that I saw bits and pieces of. 97, that's when I finally, started getting into it a little bit more. And then 98, that's when it really took off. So, yep. And I used to cut out the brackets from the newspapers, and I've got quite a few of them. I still got quite a few of them here in my room here. So, including one that MF and I, did some things on. So, back from the 98 tournament. So, oh yeah, a lot of great memories indeed. And he is without a doubt going to be sorely missed, and especially coming up with the tournament coming up next month. And yeah, it's not going to be the same. So, all right. So with that, let's move on to the big Leafs story that broke yesterday morning. MF got word of it, and it's hard to believe MF got word of this before Bullock did, because this was Bullock's guy right here, Tom Brady. And no, you're not listening to a rerun from our show at this time a year ago. This is legit. Tom Brady says he is retiring for good from football, ending a storied 23-year NFL career. during which the star quarterback won 7 Super Bowls and set numerous records. He announced his decision yesterday on social media, saying he would not change a thing about his career. One moment here. I just want to make sure we're all good here. All right. Brady also announced he was retiring on February 1st of 22 before changing his mind 40 days later and returning to play this past season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brady informed the Bucs of his decision at 6 a.m. Wednesday morning. According to ESPN's Jeff Darlington, the Bucs tweeted their appreciation to Brady later Wednesday along with a hashtag "Thank You Tom" caption. The Glazer family, which owns the Buccaneers, said in a statement that Brady set an exceptional standard that elevated our entire organization to new heights and created some of the most iconic moments in our history. Tom's impact will be felt within our community for many years to come, and we will forever be grateful for those unforgettable memories that he provided during these final seasons of his legendary career. Brady, who won 6 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots and 1 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, ends his career as the NFL's leader in career passing yards, 89,214, and touchdown passes, 649. The 3-time league MVP passed for 4,694 yards, third in the NFL, and 25 touchdowns this past season, his third with Tampa Bay. Brady is the only player to win more than 5 Super Bowls and has been named Super Bowl MVP 5 times. Brady can immediately begin working as an analyst for Fox Sports, which signed him to a 10-year, $375 million contract this past summer. He also launched the Brady brand clothing line 1 year ago, has a successful health and wellness brand called TB12 Sports, and founded his own production company, 199 Productions. Brady and supermodel Gisele Bündchen finalized their divorce this past fall during the Bucs season, ending a 13-year marriage between 2 superstars who respectively reached the pinnacles of football and fashion. Famously underrated coming into the NFL, he was picked 199th in the 2000 draft by New England, behind 6 other quarterbacks, 3 kickers, and a punter. Brady played in 1 game as a rookie, completing 1 of 3 passes for 6 yards. The next year, it all changed. Brady took over as the starter. The New England Patriots beat the then St. Louis Rams in Super Bowl 36, and he and New England Patriots coach Bill Belichick were well on their way to becoming the most successful quarterback-coach duo in football history. Brady holds all-time NFL records for regular season wins, 251, Super Bowl appearances, 10, playoff games, 48, wins, 35, as well as playoff yards, 13,400, and touchdown passes, 88. More Super Bowl wins came after the 03 and 04 seasons. The Patriots returned to football's mountaintop for a 4th time in Brady's era, a decade later to cap the 2014 season. The infamous Malcolm Butler interception, as we all know, which made MF and I scream literally at the top of our lungs, intercepted. We all remember that. 8 years ago today, yesterday, I believe. And the start of 3 more titles in a span of 5 years. In 2020, Brady joined the Buccaneers and won his 7th Super Bowl, spent his last 3 years with Tampa Bay, getting the Buccaneers to the playoffs in each of those seasons. Former Buccaneers head coach Bruce Arians told ESPN's Jenna Lane that his fondest memory with Brady was holding that Lombardi trophy, that Lombardi with him. Say what you want about the guy. I mean, MF and I, when he was in New England, I mean, he owned my Buffalo Bills. And MF's Miami Dolphins had some moderate success against them, had a little more success than Buffalo did, I'll be honest, but he still found ways to win. And, as a football fan in general, I definitely appreciate and respect everything he ever did for the game. Next stop is Canton, no doubt about that. Whenever he is eligible to be inducted for the first time, I believe it's 5 years. So, 5 years, I believe, is the period there. So probably as early as 2028, I'm sure that's when Tom Brady will take his rightful place in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And as a Bills fan, I'll forever be. My feelings about that will never change because he absolutely. I think he had more success against Buffalo than any other team. I mean, he literally owned them, and it drove me nuts. But as a football fan in general, like I said, I definitely appreciate and respect everything he ever did for the game. Made so many games fun to watch. MF and I called so many of his games for so many years. All those Patriot games, notably against Peyton Manning, whether it was with the Indianapolis Colts or the Denver Broncos. Of course, notable games against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, just to name a few teams that he had legendary runs and rivalries with. And, they were all so memorable. Yeah, there were some duds in there, but and some playoff games, wild card games, divisional games, AFC championship games, all those Super Bowls. And, it is truly the end of an era. And as a Bills fan, I say about damn time. And even though we only played them once as Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay still beat them, of course, because hello. But nonetheless, I wish him the best in his retirement. And well, next stop, obviously, Fox Sports. He'll obviously probably be Greg Olson out and Tom Brady in, working with Kevin Burkhardt, Aaron Andrews, and Tom Rinaldi. That probably goes into effect next season, come September, when the new NFL season starts and we start the road to Super Bowl 58. But first, we got to get to Super Bowl 57, and we'll have some early thoughts on that at the end of the show. So congratulations, Tom Brady. I mean, I know the smart aleck in me wants to say, I'll believe it when I see it. And, or in this case, I'll believe it when I don't see it. But nonetheless, all the best to Tom Brady in his career, and him as an analyst. I mean, I can't wait to hear it. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how he meshes with Kevin Burkhardt in that Fox booth starting next year. So I'm very, very anxious to see how he does with that. So, and curious too. So not much more for me to say about this. The only guy who could really do this justice is Michael Bullock, but he's not here. So, because this was his guy, obviously. But MF and I will do the best we can. I just did the best I could. So MF, come on in. Same old story, same old song and dance. Tom Brady announcing his retirement. He says it's for good. We'll believe it when we don't see it. But
I'm pretty confident this time around that he is done. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty confident. Unlike last year, I kind of felt like there's probably a chance he could come back. This was turning into like a Brett Favre or a Aaron Rodgers situation, and I kind of felt like, I think there's a chance he could come back. But honestly, truthfully, and meaningfully, I think he's done. I think he's legitly done. But if he's saying he's done, I got a really good feeling, or I got a really good notion that, yeah, I think he is done, and he's not coming back to the NFL. Well, he'll be coming back to the NFL, but as a broadcaster, as a commentator, or something like that. But as far as his playing days go, I think he's legitly done. I honestly believe so. I think I thought he could have left a year ago after he won that Super Bowl with Tampa, because at that point he had nothing else to prove. But he decided the love of the game. He kept going. Then he did, and he gave us 2 more years of his career. So I mean, a lot of people thought that last year was his final year. At first, it looked like it was, and then about no more than a month and a half later, he's like, "Nah, I reconsider this. I need to come back. I need to do this one more time." And sure enough, he came back, had a good season, got to the playoffs, but then got routed by the Cowboys, and then now we've gotten the ultimate goodbye here, and that is true. As far as Brady goes, I'm with you. As a Miami Dolphin fan, we grew to despise the Patriots. we grew to despise Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and that Patriot way. So we were very, very, very negative. Um, yes, we had more success than any other team Miami did. 24 wins to 12 losses. Um, we actually are the only team, the Miami Dolphins are the only team in the history of the NFL to actually give Tom Brady double digit in losses. And let me tell you, if you watch the Brady documentary, he did not like Miami. And vice versa, we did not like him. So if there was one team he just couldn't get over the hump on, was the Miami Dolphins. And it was funny. It was absolutely funny because when you ever have a rivalry with somebody and he and that player detests you time in and time out and everything else, you know you're going to get the best out of them. And the thing is, Miami was not afraid. They were not scared of the aura. They were not scared of the greatness. And there was times where there was wars between the Miami Dolphins and the New England Patriots where it came down to the last play of the game. Like at Florio, you know that really well. There was a lot of times, especially when I started as a commentator early in his career, there was a lot of screaming Michael Fletcher moments. Obviously, after Super Bowl, right around the start of the Super Bowl 38 season was when you took over as the lead and went on. And we've been doing this for the last 20 years plus with you as lead commentator. Every game, every battle, everything that he's done has been unbelievable. And yeah, he is without a doubt one of the greatest quarterbacks, one of the greatest players in NFL history. I think his legacy is cemented. And yes, Anthony, I do believe in 5 years, in 2028, we will see him as a Hall of Famer, just like J.J. Watt will be a Hall of Famer in 5 years as well. So if anybody's wondering about the Hall of Fame class of 2028, well, there's two names right out of the gate that are first ballot Hall of Famers from the modern era. Normally they do about 5 to 7 from the modern era. There's two names right there. J.J. Watt and Tom Brady both will be getting the bronze bust, the ring of excellence, and that golden jacket to signify that they will be Hall of Famers, and their legacy and their lineage will forever be linked in Canton, Ohio, forever and ever. So yeah, can't wait for that day for that to happen. There's really nothing more to say. Obviously, the one downside is, even though I guess David Baker is no longer the president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I think that would have been such an iconic moment, seeing David Baker knocking on that door of Tom Brady's and telling him that he's a Hall of Famer. I know they do it differently now. I don't know how they're going to do it. I know the iconic moment used to be the knocking of the door. That was the signature thing for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I don't know. We'll wait and see how it plays out. But there's really nothing more to say. I wish Bullock was here. I'm totally in agreement with you, Anthony, on that, because I know he was very, when I heard the news of Brady retiring, it floored me, because I was like, but then I got to hear the Instagram post, and when he said that, nah, I'm done, and this is I'm done for good. That's when I was like, oh man, and it sunk in. So nothing more to say. So yeah.
Let me tell you something about Bullock. He loved Tom Brady so much that even after he left New England, He bought a Tampa Bay Buccaneers jersey.
Yep. There's a TB12 with the Buccaneers on it. Yep, he's got it.
Yeah. I mean, not many people do that, but he did. That just shows you how much Tom Brady meant to him and how much he loved and respected and appreciated everything Tom Brady did as a New England Patriot. And credit to him for that. I mean, I don't know if I could have done that. But, he did. So, but anyways, let's move on to the other big story in the NFL this week. I'm making one small indemnity to the to our docket this week and push it to another day, and that's the NBA. I'm going to do that in a couple of weeks when we resume our regulation shows, because we got one NFL special NFL exclusive show, and that's next week. You already know what that is. We'll get into that, but the other things we're going to get into, and this was the other big story in the NFL. Big coaching hire. The Denver Broncos agreed Tuesday to a trade with the New Orleans Saints to make Sean Payton the 19th head coach in franchise history. The Saints will receive the Broncos' 2023 first-round pick, number 29 overall, and 2024 second-round pick for Payton and the Saints' 2024 third-round selection, sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter. The Broncos are also expected to make Payton one of the highest-paid head coaches in the league. MF, this past year, there was a lot of hype for the Denver Broncos, mainly because they got Russell Wilson. Unfortunately, they ended up being a major flop.
Yep.
But with Sean Payton coming in, can that Bronco team live up to the hype a year later than expected?
Well, I mean, I think the one thing that we're going to have to keep a very close eye on is offensively. How are you going to, I think, yes, there's going to be that, but I think there's a lot more that's riding on this. And I can't wait to see how it plays out. I can't wait to see the body of work and everything else. Sean Payton, remember, this was the guy that brought New Orleans to the Super Bowl. They won Super Bowl 44 behind Sean Payton, Drew Brees, Reggie Bush, and that incredible squad. So I don't know how it's going to be, but yeah, it's going to be more than anything else. So I think it's going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be very, everything. And we're just going to have to wait and see how this plays out. But at the end of the day, it's going to be one way or another. And we'll wait and see, because obviously there's going to be some looks on some certain coaching staff. There's going to be some guys that, Sean Payton's going to want to look for. And, he's got a decent squad. They had a pretty good defense a year ago. It's just the offense was just horrible. It just struggled. And, yeah, a lot of it was Russell Wilson's fault. And now we got to see, maybe this can help out everything else. And we'll see how this plays out. But other than that, I think this could be a good hire. And I know there was a year where he was an analyst for Fox, but his heart was trying to be a coach. I don't think he was really meant for the broadcasting booth or for that Fox NFL Sunday. I think he always wanted it to be a coach and wanted to get back into the game. Obviously, after the New Orleans thing, I think he was just worn down, and he just needed a year or two just to collect himself, get back into the swing of things. Once he kind of felt like, all right, I'm good, let's do this. But then there was, they were looking for a team. And honestly, I was hearing a lot of people saying, what about the Dallas Cowboys? What about the Dallas Cowboys? I know there's a few people out there that wanted Sean Payton as the Dallas Cowboys head coach. I'm honestly going to say it. I don't think the Denver thing would have happened if Dallas did not keep Mike McCarthy. If Mike McCarthy was fired, like a lot of people were hoping for, and not just one person that we know, but there was a couple of people that I know personally. One who currently works at the 2184 crew, one that no longer works there. There's at least 3 or 4 people that I know that wanted the Cowboy that wanted Mike McCarthy gone, and that's how that played out. So I honestly believe that if Mike McCarthy was fired, I think Sean Payton would have been the new head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, no doubt in my mind. But they kept McCarthy. That meant he got to go somewhere else, and Denver was the one that went. Even though if you hear the rumors, Anthony, I don't know if you want to get into this. Before D'Amico Ryan was headed off to the Houston Texans, D'Amico Ryan was actually the number one guy that Denver was looking at. But when he went off the board, Peyton was there. They rolled the dice, and now they got him. So we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, this was a roller coaster ride for Sean Payton. But I'm so glad he's back in the league, and I wish him nothing but the best. And to be in that AFC West, there was a high expectations about the AFC West, but who knows how that plays out next year. So, Florida, it's yours.
Sean Payton, who was the NFL's Coach of the Year in 2006, will succeed Nathaniel Hackett, who was fired December 26th, the day after the Broncos' dismal 51-14 loss to the LA Rams at SoFi Stadium on Christmas Day that dropped Denver to 4-11. The team finished the season 5-12 as interim coach Jerry Rosburg closed out the year. Payton was 152-89 in his 15 seasons as Saints head coach, including a win over the Indianapolis Colts in Super Bowl 44. Payton did not coach this season and was an analyst for Fox Sports. Payton will be tasked with preparing the league's lowest scoring offense in 2022, as Russell Wilson finished with a career-low 16 touchdown passes and was sacked a career-most 55 times. The Broncos have missed the playoffs 7 consecutive seasons and have fired 3 head coaches, Vance Joseph, new Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, and Nathaniel Hackett, all since January of 2019. Kicker Brandon McManus is the only player on that current roster who was in uniform for the Broncos' last playoff game, which was when they won Super Bowl 50, when they beat the Carolina Panthers. Payton initially interviewed with Broncos officials on January 17 and was the 5th of 8 candidates interviewed in the first wave. Broncos owner and CEO Greg Penner had tipped his hand before the search began as to why someone of Payton's experience could end up with the job. Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh, former Stanford coach David Shaw, former Atlanta Falcons coach Dan Quinn, former Tampa Bay Buccaneers coach Raheem Morris, and former Detroit Lions coach Jim Caldwell were all former NFL head coaches initially interviewed by the Broncos. And as MF said, Niners defensive coordinator D'Amico Ryans, who was named the Houston Texans coach on Tuesday, was the last of the 8 candidates interviewed. Payton's Saints teams with Drew Brees at quarterback were consistently among the league's best on offense. The Saints won at least 10 games 9 times in his tenure and went to the playoffs 9 times. Under Payton's tenure, Drew Brees was a 12-time Pro Bowl selection with the Saints, topped 4,000 yards passing 12 times and 5,000 yards passing 5 times, led the league in passing 7 times. Now, this season, Denver finished last in the league in scoring, about 17 points a game, last in the league in third down conversions, scored 16 or fewer points in 11 games, and lost 9 games by 7 or fewer points. And Hackett's dismissal put an abrupt end to the shortest tenure of any non-interim head coach in franchise history. Penner had decreed after Hackett was fired, "We've got to get this right." At one point this season, the Broncos featured the number 1 scoring defense and the number 32 scoring offense. The Broncos' current playoff drought is also the franchise's longest since its earliest years, when it missed the playoffs between 1960 and 1976. So a lot have happened here, and the Broncos are 45-1 in early odds to win next year's Super Bowl at Caesars Sportsbook. The Sportsbook did not adjust the Broncos odds after the reported deal of Sean Payton, but did see of a rush of bets on Denver. The Broncos had attracted just 10 bets since the Super Bowl odds were posted January 26th at Caesars. Within the first 10 minutes of the Payton news, a surge of 17 bets were placed on Denver at Caesars. So that just shows you the effect he has. And it's I think the Bronco games might be a little more interesting next year because this past year, oh boy, a lot of those Bronco games were hard to watch. Let me tell you, especially that Christmas game against the Rams. Yeesh. That was a lump of coal and then some, let me tell you. So, but we wish Sean Payton the best, and that's all there is to say on that. There's a couple more things that we're going to get into before we get to our big main event here. And next up, this is something that I know good old MF Michael Fletcher wanted to get into. The Baseball Hall of Fame, the National Baseball Hall of Fame. The voting went down on reported on January 24th. And third baseman Scott Rowland was the only one of the 28 candidates on the Hall of Fame ballot to reach the necessary 75% support, and results revealed Tuesday, January 24th on the MLB Network. Rowland joins Fred McGriff, who was a unanimous selection by the 16-member Contemporary Baseball Era Players Committee back in December in the class of 2023. Hall of Fame weekend is set for July 23rd on the grounds of the Clark Sports Center in Cooperstown, New York. When it comes to the names on the list here, Scott Rowland, the only one who received at least 75%. He received 76.3% of the vote. The next closest was Todd Helton. Todd Helton, 72.2%. He was 3% away from getting in. And then Billy Wagner, 68.1%. Andrew Jones, 58.1%. Gary Sheffield, 55%. Carlos Beltran and Jeff Kent, each 46.5%. But for Jeff Kent, he's gone. Because for Jeff Kent, this was his final year on the ballot. A-Rod got Alex Rodriguez, got 35.7% of the vote. Manny Ramirez, 33.2% of the vote. Omar Vizquel, 19.5%. Andy Pettit, 17%. Bobby Abreu, 15.4%. Jimmy Rollins, 12.9%. Mark Burley, 10.8%, along with Francisco Rodriguez. And Torrey Hunter, the Spider-Man, 6.9%. And players receiving less than 5% will drop off future ballots. Bronson Arroyo, R.A. Dickey, John Lackey, Mike Napoli, Houston Street, all got 0.3% of the vote. And these other names all got 0%. Matt Cain, Jacoby Ellsbury, Andre Ethier, J.J. Hardy, Johnny Peralta, Jared Weaver, and Jason Worth. Those were the names on the list. But nonetheless, Scott Rowland gets elected into the Hall of Fame. So, break it all down for you. For Scott Rowland, career numbers. He made his MLB debut on August 1st, 1996 for the Philadelphia Phillies. His last appearance was October 3rd, 2012 for the Cincinnati Reds. He retired with a career batting average of 281, 2,077 hits, hit 316 career home runs, drove in 1,287 runs, played for 4 different teams. He played for the Philadelphia Phillies from 1996 to 2002, the St. Louis Cardinals from 2002 to 2007, the Toronto Blue Jays from 2008 to 2009, and the Cincinnati Reds from 2009 to 2012. 7-time All-Star, 2002 to 2006, and then 2010 to 2011. 2006, won a World Series with the St. Louis Cardinals when they beat the Detroit Tigers. 1997, National League Rookie of the Year. 8-time Gold Glove Award winner, 1998, 2000 through 2004, 2006, and 2010. 2002, won the Silver Slugger Award and inducted into the St. Louis Cardinals Hall of Fame. And the other inductee that I know will bring a smile and a tear at the same time, the good old MF Michael Fletcher, a man who was definitely considered one of the heart and souls of the Atlanta Braves in the 90s, Fred McGriff, the crime dog. Debuted May 17th, 1986 for the Toronto Blue Jays. His last appearance, July 15th, 2004 for the then Tampa Bay Devil Rays. When he retired, his career numbers, he had a career average of 284 with 2,490 hits, hit 493 career home runs, and drove in 1,550 runs. He played for the Toronto Blue Jays from 1986 to 1990. He played for the San Diego Padres from 1991 to 1993. What he's best known for, his tenure with the Atlanta Braves, 1993 to 1997. MF, I'm sure MF's probably reminiscent about those days right about now. 1998 to 2001, he played for the then Tampa Bay Devil Rays. 2001 to 2002 was a member of the Chicago Cubs. 2003, he played for the Los Angeles Dodgers and then returned to the Tampa Bay Devil Rays in 2004. 5-time All-Star, 1992, and then from 1994 to 1996, and the year 2000, of course, winning a World Series championship with that legendary Atlanta Braves team in 1995. 3-time winner of the Silver Slugger Award, 1989, 1992, and 1993, and led the league in home runs twice in 1989 and 1992, and got unanimously selected by the Contemporary Baseball Era Committee, 100% vote for the crime dog, and rightfully so. And I can't say this and stress this enough. The 75% threshold is ridiculously high. There are so many great names that are being left off, and it's a damn shame. I mean, I know they have high standards. I get it, and I believe in that, but at the same time, I mean, 75%, that's a little steep if I'm being honest. 70, I think, is more realistic, to be quite honest with you. But 75, that's still a little high for me. But nonetheless, Scotty Rowland, I remember him. I remember both of these guys very well. Scotty Rowland, of course, started with Philly, and then had his best years with the St. Louis Cardinals. You know, finally winning the World Series in 2006 when they knocked off the Detroit Tigers in 5 games, and of course, as I look back at Scotty Rowland's numbers, his lifetime numbers, well, I don't have every single season, but his career best, you know, all of his best years, I believe, were with St. Louis. And 2004 was his best year. 34 homers, 124 RBI. Finished 4th in the MVP voting. And September 15th of 06, 7 RBI with 2 home runs in a 14-4 win against the San Francisco Giants. That was the best game he ever had in his career. And you know, he and nowadays he's working as the director of player development for Indiana University baseball as of July 18th of 2018. And you know, he batted right, he threw right, and you know, had a solid career, no doubt about that. Fred McGriff, great power hitter. You know, nobody really knows about it. I mean, when it comes to Fred McGriff, a lot of people best remember his time in Atlanta. I mean, I know MF, of course, but yes, he did play for the Toronto Blue Jays. and had some great years down there. And he also played for San Diego. And it was part of a blockbuster trade. This was a blockbuster trade. I mean, listen to this. December 5th, 1990, the Toronto Blue Jays traded Fred McGriff and Tony Fernandez to San Diego. And who did San Diego get in exchange? Listen to this. Roberto Alomar and Joe Carter. I think we all know who ended up. I mean, all four are great players, but I think, with all due respect, Toronto
fleeced them. Toronto absolutely fleeced them.
Yeah, they did. And Toronto got the better end of the deal because, hello, Toronto won back-to-back World Series titles in 1992 and 1993. And, of course, 93, hello, because of, single-handedly, Joe Carter. One of the, I mean, to this day, I believe it's still the last World Series to end on a walk-off home run. I'm hopeful that we'll get to see that one more time in our lifetime, but story for another day. But MF ended up getting the last laugh because July 18 of 93, San Diego, out of contention, seeking to unload high-priced veterans, dealt Fred McGriff to the Atlanta Braves for prospect Vince Moore, Donnie Elliott, Melvin Nieves. Gee, I wonder who got the better end of that deal. Oh, yeah, it was Atlanta. Come on. McGriff, in his first game as an Atlanta Brave, hit a home run. And Atlanta went 51-19 to close that season and overtake San Francisco and win the NL West, got to the playoffs. And then the rest was history. And successful cleanup hitter. And hey, 1994 was the MVP of the All-Star game. Hit the game-tying home run for the NL after they trailed 7-5 in the bottom of the ninth, and finished runner-up to Ken Griffey Jr. in the home run derby that year. And then, of course, 95, that did it. Won the World Series. Hit 2 home runs in that World Series. And he signed, he was a free agent after that 95 season, but then he signed a 4-year deal to go to Atlanta for $20 million. And then Atlanta got back to the World Series in 1990, one more time the following year in 96, but lost to the Yankees. And hit 22 homers in 97, called out on strikes by Eric Gregg, by Levon Hernandez. And in Game 5 of the NLCS, Atlanta lost that series, and then the following year, he left to go to Tampa. So that was the history. He joined the D-Rays in January of 2007 as a special advisor, stayed with them until 2010, and then he went back to Atlanta as a special assistant to the baseball operations department in 2015, working with their minor league players. And he appeared in commercials for Tom Amansky's Baseball Fundamentals. We all know those videos in 1991. Those commercials ran for over a decade on ESPN, making them the longest-running sports infomercial on television. But as of 2019, McGriff stood as only 16 players to record a career 280 batting average, 375 on-base percentage, and 500 slugging percentage, along with at least 490 home runs. Unbelievable. So congratulations to Scott Rowland, or as Chris Berman used to call him back in the day, Scott Rockin' Rowland, and of course the crime dog Fred McGriff. So not much more to say. Cannot wait to see them enshrined on July 23rd as part of the Hall of Fame. So MF, you know both of these guys very well. Scotty Rowland had a solid career for himself. I know you're happy for him, but I know in all honesty, I know when you got the word about Fred McGriff going into the Hall of Fame as a unanimous selection, no less. I'm sure it definitely brought a small little smidgen tear to your eye when you saw one of your boys. I believe the 3-headed pitching monsters are all in there. So
they're all in there. Chipper Jones is in there. The one we need to get now is Andrew Jones, and I think he'll get there eventually. I really thought that you were going to be a little more, because I know how much you love baseball. I know we call you the voice, that you are Mr. Baseball when it comes to this more than anything else. So when we started look at Hall of Fame. We're like, all right, who are the guys that we're looking at? Scott Rowland was one. Ty Helton. Oh my goodness. Todd Helton
should be in.
Should be in. Missed out by 11 votes.
Ugh.
He missed out by 11 votes. If 11 people would have voted him in, he would have gotten the 75% he needed to get in.
Stupid idiot mutton heads. I'm sorry.
I mean, I was like, wow. 11 votes shy. I was like, he's in. He's going in. He will get in next year. I'm sure of it.
With the numbers he has, he should be in.
Well, not only that, Anthony, but also with the guys who are coming in, who are now eligible, there's not really that many big names going in or that's coming up for Hall of Fame. So a lot of these guys, Billy Wagner, Scott Rowland, not Scott Rowland, Ty Helton, Wagner, Andrew Jones. I think those three guys, just based off the numbers, I think they all have legitimate cases that they could get in, that they eventually will get into the Hall of Fame. I think Helton coming that close, 11 short, I do believe he'll get in next year. I think he does get in next year. And Wagner, I think you said he had 60-something percent?
68, I think.
68? He should be able to get to the finish line. I think he'll get in. Andrew Jones, I think he may be a year or two away. And I think eventually, because the thing, like I would say, is that when you look at Hall of Fame, because yes, I agree, 75 is a ridiculous number. That's way high. I think 70 should be the magic number. But I get why they do it. Because remember, you got 435 members. These are baseball writers from so many different eras. So you're talking 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and today. And everybody gets a vote. Everybody gets to put 10 players on their ballots. And that 10 basically has to accumulate 75%. So if one person feels like they're not eligible over another person, then that's where that battle goes, and that's where the argument lies. So how's that going to look? We never know. But I do know one thing for sure: Scott Rowland definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He was an unbelievable player in his era. I remember the days when he was playing for Philadelphia, and man, he was a tough out. But not only was he in for his good play as an offensive player, it was his defense that really defined his career. He was a great third baseman, an unbelievable guy, man. The number of times that he set it up, either robbing a base hit, going across the diamond, or even setting up for that 5-4-3 double play that I've always been reminiscent of commentary on. So he just knew how to play the position. And this Hall of Fame class, a lot of it was more not because of their great batting statistics, even though their statistics was really good and very high, but there was nothing flashy about their numbers. What made Scott Rowland a Hall of Famer was he was a defensive stopper. He was an amazing Gold Glove defensive star, and that's why I believe I could say has proven himself and is made himself to be such a star in the game, and that's why I really enjoy his level of play. And there's really nothing more to say there. Now, as far as the crime dog, uh, Fred McGriff goes, this one really hit. And when I heard he was going in, I was over the moon. I could not believe that he never got on the modern ballot. He never got to the Hall of Fame. His numbers were there. What he did to the body of work, what he did for the teams, what he did for his success and everything else. And we all were like, what on earth? How did he not make Hall of Fame? I'm so glad that the Veterans Committee realized his potential and saw something more special than what the writers did. And for us to see him go into the Hall of Fame is a long time coming, is a great moment. And yeah, even for me, I was very, very, very happy to hear that he got in. And I cannot wait to see what he's gonna say and everything else. I'm so proud of him being a Hall of Famer, and I'm so excited for that day when he is finally enshrined in Cooperstown, New York. As far as anything else goes, like I said, I do believe that there are going to be certain guys who should be eligible for next year's Hall of Fame. And like I said, there was at least 3 or 4 guys that I do believe that will get in there. So I think it's going to be an incredible road. And yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So Anthony, it's yours, my friend.
All right, MF, and we're going to move on now to we got 2 things left, and that is first the NHL All-Star festivities. The NHL All-Star game this weekend from the FLA Live Arena in Sunrise, Florida, the home of the Florida Panthers. The game on Saturday afternoon on ABC, and of course tomorrow night, before we get to that, on ESPN and all that, we have the skills competition. And we have the events, Upper Deck NHL Fastest Skater, Great Clips NHL Breakaway Challenge, a brand new event called the Discover NHL Tendy Tandem, Enterprise NHL Splash Shot, Honda NHL Accuracy Shooting, Chipotle NHL Pitch and Puck, and the Geico NHL Hardest Shot. For Fastest Skater, we have Kevin Fiala of the Los Angeles Kings, Dylan Larkin of the Detroit Red Wings, Kirill Kaprizov of the Minnesota Wild, Cale Makar from the Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche, Chandler Stevenson of the Vegas Golden Knights, and Andrei Svechnikov from the Carolina Hurricanes. In the Breakaway Challenge, celebrity goaltender Roberto Luongo. You got Mitchell Marner of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Alexander Ovechkin of the Washington Capitals, and Sidney Crosby of the Pittsburgh Penguins teaming up. That's going to be interesting. David Pastrnak of the Boston Bruins, and Matthew Tkachuk of the hometown Florida Panthers. A new event, NHL Tendy Tandem. 8 goaltenders will participate in this event. 1 goalie from each division designated the shooting goalie, and 1 the in-net goalie. The shooting goalies will earn points based on the accuracy of their shots at the net, and the in-net goalies will face rushes of 3, 2 or 1 player, based on the number of points earned by the shooting goalie in their tandem. The shooters are Alex Carpenter, Hillary Knight, Emily Clark, Rebecca Johnston, and Sarah Nurse. The goalies are Connor Hellebuck of the Winnipeg Jets, UC Saros of the Nashville Predators. Here you go, MF. Igor Shesterkin, the Vezina Trophy winning Igor Shesterkin from your New York Rangers. Stuart Skinner of the Edmonton Oilers, Ilya Sorokin of the New York Islanders, Logan Thompson of the Vegas Golden Knights, Linus Olmark of the Boston Bruins, and Andrei Vasilevsky of the Eastern Conference champion Tampa Bay Lightning. A special event. They did this in Vegas last year, a Vegas-style event. How about a Florida-style event called the NHL Splash Shot? Competition takes place on the beach in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The ocean spray, breeze, and sand add to the challenge of this exceptional skills event as four pairs of players fire at targets to attempt to dunk their opponents. Sidney Crosby, Pittsburgh Penguins. Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and Cale Makar, all from the Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche. Igor Shesterkin and Adam Fox, both of the New York Rangers. Brady Tkachuk of the Ottawa Senators. And Matthew Tkachuk of the hometown Florida Panthers. The accuracy shooting will feature Alexander Barkov of the hometown Florida Panthers. Leon Draisaitl of the Edmonton Oilers. Kevin Hayes of the Philadelphia Flyers. Jack Hughes of the New Jersey Devils. Nazem Kadri of the Calgary Flames. Nikita Kucherov of the Tampa Bay Lightning, Connor McDavid of the Edmonton Oilers, Brock Nelson of the New York Islanders, Artemi Panarin from the New York Rangers, and Vladimir Tarasenko of the St. Louis Blues. And then the pitch and puck. Using a combination of hockey and golf shots, 4 NHL All-Stars will play a par 4 featuring an island green. Lowest score wins the pitch and puck. Johnny Gaudreau of the Columbus Blue Jackets, Clayton Keller of the Arizona Coyotes, Jason Robertson of the Dallas Stars, and Nick Suzuki of the Montreal Canadiens, participants in that. And then finally, for the hardest shot, Rasmus Dahlin of the Buffalo Sabres, Seth Jones of the Chicago Blackhawks, Josh Morrissey of the Winnipeg Jets, Alexander Ovechkin of the Washington Capitals, and Elias Pettersson of the Vancouver Canucks. And that is the skills competition. Those are the skills competition. That's going to be hella fun. I cannot wait to see how that all goes down tomorrow night. And as far as the NHL All-Star rosters go for each division, for the Metropolitan Division, we got Sidney Crosby of the Pittsburgh Penguins, Johnny Gaudreau of the Columbus Blue Jackets, Kevin Hayes of the Philadelphia Flyers, Jack Hughes of the New Jersey Devils, Brock Nelson of the New York Islanders, Alexander Ovechkin from the Washington Capitals, Artemi Panarin from the New York Rangers, Andrei Svechnikov from the Carolina Hurricanes, Adam Fox and Igor Shesterkin from the New York Rangers, and Ilya Sorokin of the New York Islanders. For the Atlantic Division, Alexander Barkov he replaces Toronto's Austin Matthews. Nikita Kucherov from the Tampa Bay Lightning, Dylan Larkin of the Detroit Red Wings, Mitchell Marner of the Toronto Maple Leafs, David Pasternak of the Boston Bruins, Nick Suzuki of the Montreal Canadiens, Brady Tkachuk from the Ottawa Senators, Matthew Tkachuk from the hometown Florida Panthers, Rasmus Dahlin of the Buffalo Sabres replacing his teammate Tage Thompson. And the goalies are Andrei Vasilevsky of the Tampa Bay Lightning and Linus Ullmark of the Boston Bruins. From the Central Division, we got Kirill Kaprizov from the Minnesota Wild, Clayton Keller of the Arizona Coyotes, Nathan MacKinnon and Mikko Rantanen from the Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche, Jason Robertson of the Dallas Stars, Vladimir Tarasenko of the St. Louis Blues, Seth Jones from the Chicago Blackhawks, Cale Makar from the Stanley Cup champion Avalanche, Josh Morrissey and Connor Hellebuck of the Winnipeg Jets, and UC Saros of the Nashville Predators. And for the Pacific Division, Leon Draisaitl of the Edmonton Oilers, Kevin Fiala from the Los Angeles Kings, Bo Horvat, formerly of the Vancouver Canucks. He was recently traded to the New York Islanders. He's there. Nazem Kadri of the Calgary Flames, Connor McDavid of the Edmonton Oilers, Elias Pettersson of the Vancouver Canucks, Chandler Stevenson from the Vegas Golden Knights, replacing Matty Beniers of the Seattle Kraken with an injury, Troy Terry from the Anaheim Ducks, Erik Karlsson of the San Jose Sharks, and the goalies are Stuart Skinner of the Edmonton Oilers and Logan Thompson from the Vegas Golden Knights. So that's that. To break it all down, I'll simply say it like this. When it comes to the skills competition, I've always looked forward to the accuracy shooting. I look forward to the skills competition more than the game, honestly. And I feel the same way about the All-Star Saturday night when it comes to the NBA, which we'll get into in 2 weeks when we return to our regulation shows regularly going forward. But yeah, I'm going to be very curious to see how those Florida style events go. That thing on the beach and on the golf course. That's going to be very interesting. I mean, they did something similar to that in Las Vegas, as we all remember last year. MF and I had a major kick out of that. Let me tell you, especially that card game they did a year ago. That was hella fun. So I'll be very anxious to see how those go down. Of course, the traditional events, the fastest skater, the hardest shot, the accuracy shooting. I've always loved the accuracy shooting. That was always my favorite event. But I look forward to all of it. And this 10D tandem, that's going to be very, very interesting. That's an interesting new concept. I can't wait to see how that all plays down. But that all goes down tomorrow night, and I can't wait to see how it all plays out. And then All-Star game, I mean, it honestly can go either way. It really can. I mean, any of those divisions can win. I believe the Metropolitan Division are the defending champions, so, and rightfully so, because I still believe it is the best division in the game right now. So, of course, I'm gonna pick the Met. I'm gonna pick the Met. Hello, because I'm a New York Ranger fan. MF's a New York Ranger fan. I mean, but I just feel that Met division is just the most talented. So, but we'll see what happens. Any of those divisions can win. I mean, looking at those rosters, I mean, that Met division roster is loaded. Crosby and Ovechkin alone. Hello. And then Igor Shesterkin, who won the Vezina last year. Adam Fox, a former Norris Trophy winner. The Breadman, Artemi Panarin. We know what he can do. Jack Hughes is a stud for Jersey. I mean, he's got Jersey back in the race for the first time in a long time. Of course, Johnny Hockey coming over from Calgary to Columbus. And Svechnikov, the stud of Carolina. And Sorokin, a great solid goalie for the Mets. So the Atlantic looks very good as well. I mean, the Kachuk brothers are in there. Of course, you got David Pasternak in there. Linus Ullmark. Let me tell you about Linus Ullmark. For me right now, for my money, he is currently my front runner to win the Vezina Trophy because this young man has been absolutely lights out, and the reason why the Boston Bruins are off to this insane start right now. With the way that team is playing, I would be shocked if they don't break the wins and points record. The wins record is 62. The 96 Detroit Red Wings, and I think it was the 2019, I believe, Tampa Bay Lightning. I think those were the two teams that won 62 games. The most points is 132 by, I believe it was the 1970-something Montreal Canadiens. I know it was one of their Stanley Cup teams from the 70s. But that one of those Montreal teams had 132 points. Boston keeps playing the way they do. They're not only going to break records. And right now, they are currently my front runner to win the Stanley Cup right now. That's how good this team is. And Ullmark especially. He keeps doing what he's doing. This team's going to run away with the Stanley Cup. I'm telling you that right now. They did have a bit of a rough stretch, but they got it right to close out the first half last night. Got a big win in Toronto. So watch out for that Atlantic division. The Central, I don't know much of these names. Of course, the Colorado, McKinnon, Rantanen, and Makar. I mean, we know what they can do. Kaprizov, that's someone you got to keep an eye on from Minnesota. He's a playmaker. Of course, we know what Tarasenko can do. St. Louis, of course, he was a part of that Cup team in 2019 when they won it all. That last, the first team we all know. Pacific looks halfway decent. I mean, of course, McDavid and Draisaitl, that two-headed monster from Edmonton. Carlson, solid player. He's the veteran of the group. It breaks my heart that we didn't get a Seattle Kraken. There was one Seattle Kraken, but he's injured. It's a damn shame we're not going to see a Seattle Kraken in there because the Seattle Kraken,
they're doing very good.
Seattle Kraken are the biggest surprise in the NHL by a mile.
Yeah.
So I don't
second year in, and all of a sudden we're talking about Seattle possibly a playoff squad. They're in there. They're I think they're what, number 3 in the Pacific.
I think they're actually tied for the division lead. So
I stand corrected.
Yeah, I can pull up the standings real quick. But while I do that, I mean, MF, can you believe what's going on in Boston? What is going on with the Bruins? I can't get over it.
Yeah, you know what? They started out with they started out winning every game. They had not lost a game at home, and they were just dominating early on, and they just been keeping that mojo going. And like you said, they did lose 3 in a row. So all of a sudden, a lot of people was like, "Uh-oh, is this?" And I was like, and even I was even saying, I was like, you know what? I think what it is I think they're trying to just shut it down, get ready for the All-Star break, and then I think they'll come right back. I don't think it's time to panic. Obviously, they won that last game against Toronto. They needed that game because you don't want to be limping in four-game losers going into an All-Star break. That would have been something that you would have been a little worried about. Obviously, what they've been doing has been amazing. Without a doubt.
Seattle's tied with LA for the Pacific.
All right. So
63. And let me tell you about the Pacific Division, MF. We got 5 teams within 6 points of each other.
That's going to be absolute chaos in the second half. And, you know, we always talk about, we don't really go deep into this trading deadline, but when you got that kind of a fight, 6 teams out like that,
Five teams within 6 points. I mean, you got Seattle and LA at 63, Vegas at 62, Edmonton at 60, and Calgary at 57.
So right now, if that's the case, you got 5 teams that are going to be buyers. They are looking for help. They're looking for guys right now to stay on that path, to basically fight for the playoff spot. So we'll wait and see how that plays out.
And in the Central, Dallas and Winnipeg, 1 point difference between Dallas.
Yeah, I think Dallas is going to hold out. I just feel like Dallas is just don't get me wrong. I love Winnipeg. I like what they've been bringing to the table. I like what their run has been so far. But I just feel like Dallas is a team that I think they could drop the hammer in that second half, and they're going to get really good. You know, they've been dealing with some injuries. Some of their best players have gotten hurt. They've been a little bit struggling right now. Everything else, we'll wait and see how that plays out. Metro?
Yeah, what about the Central?
Well, I would say Metro.
Oh, Metro. Carolina.
Yeah.
Carolina's red hot right now. I think they could be the biggest threat to Boston.
They're the biggest threat to Boston. As a matter of fact, they did play Boston and they beat them recently. They actually not only beat them, they took them down. Like I think it was like 4-1 in their last game.
Yeah, that was just like they did in the first round of the playoffs this past year. And their Carolina leads the Met 8-point lead over New Jersey. And New Jersey, I mean, they had a red hot start in November. Then they sputtered a little bit, but they got their fire back. And don't sleep on the Rangers either. No,
New York is right there. But I will say this. I've heard a rumor, and I really mean this. I've heard a rumor about New York making a big move. What I mean by a big move,
we need one. We need one. If we get back to the conference finals like we miraculously did this past year, we had no business being that far, but
yeah,
we got there.
We got there,
and we had Tampa literally on the ropes. Had them down 2-0, and then had them down pretty decently in Game 3, and then the wheels fell.
Then the wheels fell off.
Big move. We get the big move here. We get the big move here. The result's going to be different.
I actually now. There was a rumor now of about a week ago. I was watching this show called That's Hockey Talk. It's from the guys from the Pat McAfee show, and they actually got Mike Rupp, and they got some other guys, you know, that they do for the hockey. Mike Rupp absolutely put something out there that caught my attention. And I thought of this, and I was like, this might be what we need. he might be the missing piece. How would you like, Ranger fans, to see your New York Rangers go to St. Louis and bring back Vladimir Tarasenko to the Broadway Blue Shirts? Would that be the final piece of the puzzle we need to get us over the top?
Could be.
So Mike will put it out there, and a lot of Ranger fans were like, "Yes, thank you. Please pull the trigger on that trade, Chris Drury. Just do it. Get it out there." But now the problem is what would St. Louis want in return?
That's a good question.
Now, I'm going to tell you this, and I'm going to be real blunt with you. It might cost us Alexis Lafreniere. I'm just saying right now. Lafreniere has been scratched. He hasn't performed very well lately. And there was some games where he was healthy scratches, where he just wasn't available at all. And there were rumors swirling around that he was actually trade bait. Is it possible for New York to put Alexi out there, just dangling the carrot, put him out there, and maybe have him traded to St. Louis, do it like as a package deal where we might have to give up some guys from Hartford, maybe some draft picks, maybe some money, and Alexis Lafreniere because he's under a rookie contract, and try to bring in Vladimir Tarasenko, but with Vladdy's money that he commands, and to try to keep the Rangers in the salary cap, there might have to be a couple of other moves. So that's something that I think the Rangers are going to look at, just as a mere fact. But if they pull this off, with the way that New York is playing, and they've been red hot lately too. I think they're like
6-2-2 in the last 10.
6-2-2 in the last 10, but more importantly, Anthony, 14 out of 18 in the last month.
Playing our best hockey at the right time.
And we're 5 points clear of the wild card spot.
Yeah,
so
they're in that top three because it's Carolina, Jersey, and the Rangers.
And I'm not scared of New Jersey. I'm not scared of New Jersey. Yes, they play. Huh?
Wow. Because
I'm not.
Jersey's playing a lot better than they've been in recent years, and
I get it, but when you come into playoff hockey, it's a different animal.
This is true.
And we talked about it last year. Yes. Because of the fact how first round, when we had Pittsburgh, we were the clear-cut favorites. We won our series, and we did what we needed to do.
We fell behind.
Everybody said we had no chance against Carolina. And we knocked them out.
Somehow, some way.
And we did. I feel like if New York gets Tarasenko, I think we make a run. That will be the missing piece that we would need. Obviously, we need some defensive help. We need some guys to help us on the defense because defensively, we do struggle. Power play, that's a liability. But we've been getting better on the power play lately. Especially Kreider is starting to look like the Kreider we've been hoping for. So we'll wait and see how it plays out. But yeah,
and then we got Boston, Toronto, and Tampa as the big three in the Atlantic Division, and we can get into more of this on another show. But MF, we're about to be doing, just prior to us getting ready for the Super Bowl, we've got the skills competition. We got the NHL All-Star game.
Yeah.
I mean, you heard all those events. I mean, some of those traditional events, but I'm very curious to see how those new events are going to play out, especially those Florida-based events on the beach and on a golf course. What?
I love the one on the beach because I remember how they used to lay it out. Because if you remember with the Vegas event last year, you had
the play cards. That was the one I loved.
That was one that they'll do again, which I think it's going to be a little more different. The other one that I really liked was seeing them playing it from that Bellagio fountain.
Yep.
And where you had to shoot the puck into targets. And the targets were laid out on that pool, on that fountain. Think about this. This time around, the targets are going to be laid out in that ocean, on that surf. Imagine what that's going to look like. The visual that they're going to have, because they're going to be on a platform on the beach, putting pucks into the ocean. I mean, that's going to be an oh my goodness moment, to say the very least. So, yeah, obviously, and then the golf course, which I believe is a legendary course in Florida. So it's gonna have a very special feel to it, and then obviously fastest skater, hardest shot, the accuracy where you got to shoot it off the target. You know, those are gonna be the amazing ones. You know, hardest shot. I mean, who's gonna? The one thing we always say is we always see somebody shoot over 100. Can somebody get to that 108 number? That used to be Zdeno Chara when he was playing for the Boston Bruins. Because there was one year, I think he put it at like 110 or something like that. And we were like, oh my God. So we'll see how that plays out. That's going to be amazing. Yeah, it's going to be wild. I mean, I can't wait. Tomorrow night it starts. And then obviously Saturday afternoon is going to be the All-Star game. And fortunately for me, for you, Florio, we get to watch it. I actually got a 3-day weekend. I'm not working this weekend, so I'm going to get to enjoy the entire All-Star festivities that's going down this weekend.
Nice. That's awesome. So, yeah, can't wait to get into all that. It's going to be fun, and to quote Monsoon, it's going to be happening in something else, right, Monsoon?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Had to do it. And speaking of something that's going to be something else and a happening, our main event tonight, Super Bowl 57. It's all set. We have our matchup. We got our final two. We started with 32 teams back in September. 30 have gone by the wayside. Unfortunately, those include all of our teams. And we got our final two. We've got the AFC champion, Kansas City Chiefs, squaring off against the NFC champion, Philadelphia Eagles. Next Thursday night, we're going to have our in-depth preview of Super Bowl 57. You know, like we've always done. Watch our past shows for how we do it. You know, the offense, the defense, the coaching, the special teams, the intangibles, all that good stuff. We're going to get into all that again next week. Trust me on that. And I may throw in a little extra flavor because of me being the Jim Nance of the group here. So we'll see what happens. But that's next week. You do not want to miss that. That's one of our biggest shows of the year.
10:30 Eastern on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com, just to confirm that right now.
Boom, boom. So, all right. MF. Kansas City and Philadelphia, that's the matchup. It's the first time since Philly last won the Super Bowl, the 2017 season, that both number one seeds, the AFC's number one and the NFC's number one, the best of the best, will be battling it out for the Lombardi on the 12th at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona on Fox, and KC and Philly. A lot of storylines here.
Oh, yeah.
You got Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. First time ever that two black starting quarterbacks are going to square off against each other. Andy Reid with his new team going up against the team that he put on the map, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Kelsey brothers. We got a brother bowl.
Yeah.
Kelsey for Kansas City. Jason Kelsey for Philly. And with all that, and we saw it. We saw the Philadelphia Eagles dismantle the San Francisco 49ers 31-7. They knocked out Brock Purdy. And as a result of that, Brock Purdy's out for 6 months. So
yeah.
But he should be back in time for training camp if all goes well. And they won 31-7 in a game that we thought was going to be a lot closer. But the AFC Championship, thankfully, it was closer. Cincinnati and Kansas City down to the wire again. But this time, Kansas City finally figured out a way to beat the Bengals. Patrick Mahomes, he did it again. Butker, game-winning field goal with seconds left. And Kansas City finally solved the Bengal puzzle 23-20 in another exciting AFC Championship game. It's always exciting whenever we get KC and Cincinnati. And I look forward to seeing those two again next year, no doubt about it. So with that being said, MF, Kansas City, Philadelphia, early thoughts.
Early thoughts is that I feel like it's gonna be a very interesting match. I think it's one of those where it's very good offense versus very good defense, and I do believe it's gonna be one of those type of battles that it could go either way. So it's basically we'll get into it more next week, but I'll say this: it's gonna look very, very, very amazing. So it's gonna be a solid battle. I like it, and there's really nothing more to do. So I really think it's gonna end up being one of those type of battles that we're gonna be looking at. Obviously, when you talk about this, it's gonna be the matchups. Defensively for Kansas City, how are they going to figure out Jalen Hurts? How are they going to maneuver and get to that? And then, of course, offensively, and then obviously the other way, defensively for Philly, they are really good. They're really strong. They're really powerful. But you're going up against a different animal with Kansas City because of the fact that you got Marquez Valdes-Scantling. You got, the wide receiving core, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes. It didn't look like the ankle bothered him. That's the one thing that everybody was worried about. The ankle of Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, the shoulder. It seemed like both men were pretty good in their performances because it didn't seem like there was much problems either way. So I think we're gonna dive deep into this next week. But as far as the matchup goes, it's going to be one hell of a game. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But, oh, man, this is going to be – I can't wait for this Super Bowl. Normally we always get excited for the Super Bowl. But this time around, I think this could go down as one of the better games we've had in recent years. I know that it hasn't really the last few years it hadn't delivered, but I do believe this time around we have a very good possibility where this could end up being an all-time great. So we'll see. So Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, I mean last year's game went down to the wire, Cincy and the Rams.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was pretty damn good.
Yeah. So we've been blessed with some 5-star Shakespearean drama classics. Other times we got duds. I mean, most recently 55 with Tampa Bay all over Kansas City. But I got a good feeling about this one. I mean, I mean, with Mahomes and Hurts going at it. I mean, with two great offensive juggernaut teams. I mean, Mahomes, Kelsey, Juju Smith-Schuster, Valdez Scantling, and Pacheco, and going up against Philly, you know, we got Jalen Hurts, and you got A.J. Brown, you got Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, Dallas Goedert, and of course, like I said, with all these great storylines, Mahomes and Hurts being with this being the first time ever two black starting quarterbacks going against each other, history making right there. Andy Reid, when he first became a head coach, I mean, he took the Philadelphia Eagles from a meh team into a powerhouse, and then he did the same thing with the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City had some down years, but then once he got there, he turned KC immediately around. So his new team against his old team, the Andy Reid Bowl, a lot of people are calling this. And then, of course, the Brother Bowl with Jason and Travis Kelce going against each other. I mean, so many storylines, so little time to get into it. But Super Bowl week kicks off Monday night with the Super Bowl opening night on the NFL Network, and which basically is the new media day. And, you know, I always used to love media day as part of Super Bowl week. That was my favorite event of Super Bowl week. Of course, MF always had that thing for the State of the League address with the commissioner, whether it was Paul Tagliabue or Roger Goodell. And of course, all the big events leading into it, all the specials that are going to be on, like that great commercial special. And, of course, a week from tonight, NFL Honors. So let's not forget that. NFL Honors. We'll address that in a couple of weeks when we return to our regulation shows. This is just a sample of what our regulation shows will be like going forward, starting 2 weeks from tonight. So, but it's going to be a great game. We'll get more into it next week. And with that, that'll put the bow on this edition of TXN Sports World. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. We'll be back with you tomorrow night at 11 p.m. over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95, for another edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk, where we will review Friday Night SmackDown, the fallout from the Royal Rumble, and, of course, AEW Rampage, and we will preview NXT Vengeance Day as well. And then Monday night, we got Ridiculously Raw, right back here on the Tone 25, Monday Night Raw, and the return of my Tony's Take with Impact Wrestling and NXT Level Up. Wednesday night, we got Wednesday Night Madness, hosted by MF. Maybe we'll probably get into the Vengeance Day right there, and we'll also get into NXT, the fallout from Vengeance Day, and then, of course, AEW Dynamite. And then 1 week from tonight, here on TXN Sports World, our exclusive, detailed, complete preview of Super Bowl 57, featuring the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll break it all down as we've always done it, and this year's no exception. So we'll get into all that next week, and then that's it. So until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk with MF over on Brace Fan 95, it's Anthony Florio here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, and in spirit, Michael Bullock, and, of course, always and forever, the First Lady, Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune Forest style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday. And until tomorrow night, for the Cerebral Smack Talk, you've been watching TXN Sports World right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio. So long. Bye, everybody. Bye.